to the first episode of season 3 of Red Wine Reads with you, Rebekah. How are we feeling?
I'm ready to go. I'm out of practice. Like, I was like, oh man, I gotta record. It's been like 2 months since we've recorded. I'm out of practice. I didn't even know my mic worked still.
And here we are.
Finished the almost like 20% of the book yesterday, so I'm ready to go. It's fresh.
It is fresh. I finished it this morning, so super fresh, feeling good. It's right here in the front of my brain, and I almost wish it wasn't. I really need a cleanser one after this one, is how I feel.
I agree. I think the reason why I wanted to finish this one so quick, because I'm really excited for next month's book.
Yes.
I've just been like, just trying to power through this one, but you know, I actually didn't really hate this book. I just thought it was just mediocre. I thought it was okay. But okay. I think we both agree, I think this is our last Otessa book.
Yeah, this is our last one.
This was my second, but I know enough about all the others that I think this is my last one. I think this is it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yes, today we're talking about Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh. This is, I mean, there's not a whole lot of quick facts about this book, to be totally honest. It was published in 2015, has a 3.6 out of 5 on Goodreads, which makes a lot of sense, and there was a movie adaptation that came out this year, so I have yet to see the movie, but
last year, 2023.
Oh, sorry. Oh my god.
It's 24, babes.
Rip. Gonna be doing that for the next 3 months, so just bear with me here. But yes, it just came out. I've heard mixed reviews, and I think those mixed reviews just come from the actual story itself after finishing it, because people either like this genre or they don't. And I'm finding that I don't. So this was her debut novel. That's crazy.
Was it really? No way.
Yeah, debut novel. Eileen won the Hemingway Foundation Pen Award. She was born in Boston, and her mother was born in Croatia, and her father was born in Iran and is Jewish. So,
oh, okay.
Yep, fascinating character, but yeah, that's about it. That's all I got about this book.
You read with the rest of Relaxation with
Sierra.
Okay.
Which I will link in the show notes.
So our listeners are familiar with Otessa.
Mm-hmm. They know how we feel. This is, okay, I'm going to start here because I think I've narrowed it down to like what I don't really love about her writing. And I think it's because she picks these characters that are so dark and twisted that don't have like relatable qualities. Because like every single time you think you're going, like you're starting to be like, okay, I think I understand this character, she like flips it on its head, and then it's like, oh god, like she's the worst. I guess like I didn't get the same feeling like when I read A Certain Hunger, where the character is the worst, yet she kind of like
buds. I would do the same. You're like,
yeah, you're
same.
Yeah, and I don't know like what makes the difference between Otessa's writing and that writing. I mean, I think you also have the novelty of cannibalism in A Certain Hunger, but I just think like Eileen absolutely annoyed the living crap out of me the whole time I was reading about her, and the same thing happened when I was reading My Year of Rest and Relaxation, where I just didn't relate to the character in any single way, and so I just felt like very disconnected from the whole story.
I think that's her MO. Mm-hmm. There is a quote from Otessa saying that she doesn't like her characters.
Yeah.
And it shows, I think. I think that's like her whole like shtick. When I read Latvona, which is one of my favorite books I've ever read, like it was really the one that like sprung me into really enjoying like psychological fiction genre of books. I think it all rests on how, like, what characters you like, because she's written like a plethora of different characters, and I think when the character is inherently interesting, I think her added style of writing makes it really, really good. That's why I like Lapvona, because it's in medieval times. Like, there's like a certain magic element. Like, they're fantastical. Like, they're kings and like poppers, and it's like the characters inherently are more interesting than a book like Eileen, where she's just like kind of like, loose quotations, a normal girl. This bitch is not good. She's not normal. But
yes.
I also kind of liked her like the whole time. Like, even like her worst qualities kind of made me giggle, because even though like her character is supposed to be 24, you could tell that she, because of her upbringing, she was like emotionally maturely stunted, I would say. And it came across like she was going through the same like kind of like thought process of like teenagers in the midst of like puberty, where like everything is like crazy, like it's so important and over dramatic. And I just thought like her character being so like so dramatic as she was, like it kind of made me giggle, because like at the same time you're like, same, I was that insufferable when I was a teenager, so I kind of liked that in a way.
Yeah, I will say I liked how it was written from the point of view of her as like a 60, 70-year-old woman.
She's like
in like
remembering
in her
it,
life.
yeah. And she would like correct herself, be like, oh, I was like this, but now I'm like this.
Yeah, and I liked that, because I think like that helped humanize Eileen. I think like out of the two books I've read, Eileen I think was the more relatable character. And I will say like the very end, where her and Rebekah are oh, this is kind of funny. I didn't even like connect the dots that her name is Rebekah, but like, you know, kept this woman hostage in the basement.
When I got to that part of the book, I literally went, oh shit. And my boyfriend turned around, he's like, what's wrong? Because I literally just was explaining to my boyfriend about how the book was like, okay. I was like, that's okay. And then I got to that part and I went, oh shit. I really wasn't expecting that. Usually I'm really good at like picking out twists.
Yes.
But I got it on, I was like, oh shit. That really got me. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I will say, like, up until that point, I was just like, God, it's insufferable. Like, I cannot read this book. And then it got there, and then I was like, oh, that's fun. And, like, she's like, oh, this isn't my house. And I locked her in the basement. And you're like, oh.
I was like, oh, shit.
And then it's just, like, this hysterical, like, you know, two girls just trying to, like, force this, like, weird, like, confession out of this woman that they're not going to do anything with, which I think is so funny.
They were going to have her sign a contract? Like, what? Like, what? That would not hold up in a court of law. Like, no. What are you talking about?
But like, I just, like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just, like, related so much to, like, Eileen in that moment where she was, like, her arm is getting tired from holding the gun, and she's, like, trying to talk to this
She's, like,
woman.
getting hot underneath her scarf. She's like, she knows me.
Yeah, takes the
There's like
scarf
86
off.
people in this town. She knows who I am. How many girls are named Eileen in this town? Come on.
I know. Rebekah's like, put on your scarf. And she was like, you said my name. Like,
yeah. She's like, and I said yours.
So, we're fucked. I just thought, like, that was funny. And I liked how it kind of ended on a note where, you know, she just leaves. And then, like, there's nothing really to do. Like, she just left this woman to die in her broken car, and...
But did she... Okay, we can talk about the ending. We can talk about the ending in, like, a second. But I'm sad that it lasted till, like, 72% of your way through the book. I know this because I have it marked percentage on my Kindle. And I looked down, and it said 72% finished. And I was like, you had to wait until 72% of the book is done to do something interesting like this? That made me a little upset. But because it's like, Otessa has this, like, weird style of where she, like, lulls you into annoyance. And then she's like, psych, bitch. So I was, like, that's why I was so caught off guard by the twist. Because I was fully expecting her to write another, like, annoying character. Like, Rebekah was too perfect.
Yeah.
Like, Rebekah was, like, too, like, saviory.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, well, she's another, like, she's just like Eileen. Like, that's like the whole part of the book. And Eileen gets mad and she leaves and she's mad because Rebekah's like just like her. But then all of a sudden she's like, this isn't my house. I have Mrs. Polk locked up in the basement. I was like, oh, excellent. This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. You have it built up in Eileen's head. You're following Eileen's head in her thought process where you're like, Rebekah and Lee have this weird relationship going on.
How
and like
old, did they say how old Lee was?
14, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because she said he was like 14, but he looked like he could be 18 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah, sure.
that's another thing. I think, like, why I felt so uncomfortable with this book, too, is just the way she would, like, sexualize everyone, and they're all, like, children. Like, I should not, like, me as a 20-something-year-old should not be, like, reading this. Like, I feel uncomfy.
Think that, to me, like, plays into what I was saying earlier about her being, like, maturely stunted. Mm-hmm. It's, like, a normal 24-year-old doesn't think like that. But, like, someone like Eileen does. And I think that, like, just adds to her character, and again of her, like, kind of acting like a teenager. Like, she's acting, like, very, very young. Like, all of the things that she's, like, that are going through her head are thoughts that I thought when I was 14. Mm-hmm. But she's 10 years older, and I think that plays into her character of being immature. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that really just, like, brought me out of the book was, like, the whole, like, subject matter that was brought up several times in the book, especially towards the end. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a big fan of that. I think a severe crime can be written about without having it to be that subject matter. Yeah. Like, I understand you want to, like, write about the severity of the issue, but there are so many other awful things that can happen that don't involve that subject matter. Yeah. Like, the fact that it was willingly, like, written about, I'm just like, you could have chosen literally anything else. Yeah. I don't know. That seemed a little icky to me.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, it took me out of the story because I was like...
You're like, why did you write about this? Like, why are you writing this?
So much depth and so much detail.
I know.
And told from the mother's point of view, which, like, hurt my soul a lot. And I was like,
You could have written about anything else that could have had the same, like, impactfulness without it. Like, why would you want to write about this? Like, that's kind of weird. Well, that dinged me on Otessa as a writer. Because I read Lapona, probably one of her grossest books, and it never even touched anything like that. Yeah. And I was like... And even I was, like, grossed out.
Yeah, and even with, like, my Year of Rest and Relaxation, she touches on some gross stuff as well, but it's not, like... And, like, the characters as well, but, like... And addiction and, you know, depression and stuff like that, but it's not getting to this depth of detail of something that I don't think, like... I guess in a book that you're trying to make, like, satirical in a way, like, it just doesn't... It doesn't read well. And it's not fun.
It kind of gives me, like, true crime vibes, where you're trying to make money off of something absolutely horrific. And I guess you could say that, like, where's the line? Like, where do you cross the line? But I feel like that line was crossed in this book. And I wasn't a big fan of that. So, I wasn't a fan. You could have written about anything else. And it would have still had the same, like... It could have been something even, like, silly that would have brought a little more comedy. Okay, everyone keeps calling this, like, a comedy, like, psychological fiction. And I was like... Well, there's no comedy in this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't find this
comedic at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're trying to be, like, satirical about, you know, like, a young woman who tries to be dark and, like, tries to be twisted and has this obsession and has this thing, and it's like you're trying to make it kind of funny and kind of, like, you know, this weird girl, and then you, like, make the sole focus of those last few chapters about that.
So serious.
About, like, sexual abuse. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't... it
It doesn't match. Like, it really
No.
threw me off. Like, of course I didn't like it.
yeah.
I wasn't a big fan. That really brought me out of it.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% agree. I was like, oh, now I am feeling gross, feeling uncomfy.
No, a little gross.
I don't want to read that. Yeah. So, and I'm like, I don't know why this is not talked about a little bit more when referencing this book. Like, I guess like people aren't like strong like trigger warnings, strong content warning.
That's what I'm saying. They made a movie about this. I was gonna watch the movie, but as soon as I finished the book, I'm like, I don't even want to see how they like translated this on screen. Like, I don't want to see this.
No.
Like, this is just, it's too much. I don't want to see this. So I was gonna watch the movie, and I'm just like, no, don't want to. No thanks. No one should be making money off of this.
No. And it's so funny because, like, with Otessa, I'm so intrigued by her and by her writing because, like, I read the back of this book and I was like, I'm fascinated. Like, I love a good obsession story. I love a good, like you said, a psychological, like, let's get in the head of this weird girl and, like, kind of see this obsession unfold between her and Rebekah. And as the book went on, I was like, I wonder if they are going to commit a crime together. Like, it feels like they're going to commit a crime together. And she always just takes it, like, one step too far for me. And this was no different. Like, My Year of Rest and Relaxation did it as well. And it just crosses the line between, like, for me at least, between getting inside the mind of someone weird and, like, a psychological, you know, book into something that I don't want to read about. And I'm like,
I think this is like my favorite genre of books where it gets into the minds of like weird people. Like, that's probably one of my favorite genres. And not even just like in the minds of like weird people discovering like their inherent like humanity, like their inherent like human like tics and tricks and like motivations. And I feel like that's where Otessa really like sits, is like reading people for like their like inherent humanness, which is sexual. Like, I get it. Like, trust me, vibes. And a lot of my favorite stories do have like a sexual element in the terms of like someone who like snaps and they just go full like feral. And I think that's interesting, but it, again, there's a line. Like, I have like, I don't know. There's a line, and it was crossed in this book, and I don't know. I wasn't a fan.
I think that's why it makes me so uncomfortable, because she writes out these characters that are so irredeemable, and they feel like there is no hope for them to like have an aha moment and like be the hero of their own story. They're just like good to let themselves rot and let themselves like stew in their own filth and be like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And like that, I think like gets to me, where I'm like, no, you can do better. You can pull yourself out of this. And I mean, like, I guess that's why I liked like Eileen's character development toward the end, because she did start to mature a little bit. And then like seeing how she was like, you know what, I like my own company. I like got married a few times, didn't really work out, but like here I am, I'm happy, I'm doing this.
Like, I live in a nice place, I eat nice food. I was like, yeah, you eat your food.
Yeah.
You eat your food, girl. Same. I love a good rot. I love a good rot story. Maybe that's my new genre. Rotting.
Rot.
Rot. Just like the rot genre. But towards... Okay, I want to talk about the end of the book now.
Let's do it.
So, they drugged her. They sedated her.
Yeah.
She's been shot in the arm. She, Miss Polk, has been shot in the arm, sedated. The plan was to take her back to her home and stage it as though her father killed her. And
go back to like Eileen's home and have
like stage Eileen's father, like stage to kill her. But Eileen brings Miss Polk in her car, starts driving, and leaves her in the car.
That's how I read it, is she left her in the car because she was like, I wonder if she'll open her eyes and have like one last glimpse of something, or like something. But then like she rolled up all the windows turn on the car, and her car's still broken, so all the exhaust fumes are just coming into
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right, because I wasn't 100% sure, because they kept mentioning the car, but I don't know cars, and I don't know what it meant when she kept mentioning that something was wrong with the car. I was like, I don't know what this means. Doesn't sound good. So it's the car exhaust was going into the car, so she will die from
the same
monoxide
effect.
poisoning?
Yeah, same effect as if you were to turn on your car in a garage.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, so Miss Polk is gonna wake up and just waltz out of the car? I was like, no. So she's not gonna die. But then, okay, so she's leaving her in the car. First of all, I know this is, what does it take place? In the 50s? 60s?
Yeah, 60s, I think. Yeah.
So, your fingerprints are all over this woman's home.
Oh, yeah.
All over this woman's home. You ate her food. Like, your DNA is riddled in this home. You left her in your car. And you're telling me that nothing happened? Like, you're, like, no one cared? I was like, that seems a little, like, plot holy. Like, it seems a little, like, plot armory. Like, you couldn't have, like, added, like, what are you talking about? You just walked away. Like, I guess that's part of, like, the story of being, like, irredeemable. Like, she just got away with it. And that's why the story sucks. But I'm just like, that's your car. You and Rebekah's fingerprints are all over this home. Like, what do you... Okay, sure.
All over the murder weapon. That was the thing that got to me. I was like, if you even have your dad pretend like he killed her, like, your fingerprints
all over the gun.
Yeah.
So I guess it's, like, really playing on, like, small town, where it's, like, they wanted to, like, cover it up more than anything. Because they probably weren't... Because Mr. Polk was part of, like, the force. I think that's what they mentioned. So I think they weren't the only one... I think Rebekah and Eileen weren't the only ones who knew about this happening. So I think it was more just, like, they're trying to, like, cover it up, which is something she did mention in regards to her father killing Mrs. Polk, rather than, like, her killing Mrs. Polk. But I was like...
Well, and I'm sure it's one of those situations, too, where they come up to Rebekah and they were like, Mrs. Polk was found in this car. I know that you were close to
fingerprints all over her.
I know you were close to Eileen. What do you know? And then she just kind of turns back and it's like, well, Mr. Polk was abusing his son. And then it was like...
But you don't know. You don't know how...
checkmate.
I'm pretty sure Rebekah just, like, split.
Yeah.
100%. She split. She's moved out. And left.
You knew it as soon as, like, they were, leaving the house. You're like, she's not doing it.
She's gonna split. Same. I would. I'd be like, oh, you got it? Okay. I'll meet up with you. Bye-bye. And immediately deport. Immediately deport myself to another country.
Well,
Ireland? Sounds great.
I almost feel like it also plays into the fact of, like, Eileen talking about the whole time in this book, like, I am invisible. Nobody knows I exist. I can just, like, weave my way in and out, and nobody really knows who I am. Even when I'm at that bar with, like, Rebekah, everyone's looking at Rebekah and talking to her. And so I think it also plays into, like, nobody even cared enough that I killed a woman to come after me.
Man, what luck. Honestly, that's sick. Imagine no one caring if you killed somebody. That's sad. That's really tough.
Yeah. So that's how I read it, but I don't know.
I was a little confused. Again, it just seemed a little rushed. It did seem like, I don't know, you could have given this, like, 20 more pages, maybe? Maybe you could have started this 60% of the way through the book and, like, fleshed it out a little bit more, but I was like, you know what? By the time I got to, like, past the motivation, past the abuse story, past them fiddling with the gun, like, the little comedic little slapstick of it, I was kind of done. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with the story. I'm ready for it to be done. And then it was. And I was like, oh, great. Next. Moving on.
Yeah. Well,
so
let's get into final ratings, because let's just do that. We knew this one was going to be a short one when we first started, but I like fluctuate with this book because the ending almost made me, like, change my answer, but I think I'm going to have to go with the 2.5. I just, like, I I think it touched on a lot of topics that I am not too keen on reading about, and it did it multiple times in multiple different scenarios. So I think I'm like, for anyone wanting to read this book, like, read the trigger warnings, read any like warnings about this book before you actually begin, and then proceed as as you feel. But I just think like it was very graphic for like graphic sake, and it didn't add to the story, and it took me out of it. The only real part that I liked was the like ending and the plot twist, and that was cool. But again, 72% of the way through the book, and that first 72% was just a lot of Eileen, and I am not a fan of Eileen, so that was not my favorite. And for that, I have to stay at the 2.5. I was maybe going to throw it up to a 3, but I don't think I would recommend this to anyone.
I went through the exact same thought process. I was going to give it like a 3, 3.5. I was like, you know what? I do like the style of character. I think it was done really well. I think that's why I don't like it. Like, I don't like the character. I think she was melodramatic. I think she was immature. So I was like, you know what? That's funny. I find that kind of funny. Like, she made me giggle about being like, girl, it's not that serious. But then again, it's just like, she was writing about graphic things for graphic things' sake. And I think it wasn't done with good taste. Mm-hmm. And that brings it down to like a 2.5 for me, because you could have gotten the point across without doing all of that. It was a lot to do to rush it. Mm-hmm. So I probably wouldn't even recommend this book. Like, I probably, like, if you're thinking about reading it or thinking about watching the movie, there's so many other good books. Just pass on this one. Read her other ones, because I think they do it a little better. I think it makes sense that this was her first book. I'm hoping that was one of the critiques that she got, that she needs to fucking reel it back a little bit. And she did, kind of. Not really. But in a way where it's like, the shock value is still there. Trust me, I've read her most gross book. Mm-hmm. Not true. Her second gross book. This is probably her most gross. Yeah. But like, and it doesn't even touch on anything that's crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, 2.
Yep.
Gracious 2.5.
Yeah. I just think I don't get her. And I think that's my biggest thing, is like, I don't understand her, Otessa, and I don't understand her writing, and I don't find joy in it, nor do I find it interesting. So it's a no for me, Otessa. I'm sorry, I'm gonna like throw in the towel here. I don't think I'm gonna read anything else by you, but
same. And I'm Otessa's like target audience, and yeah. I think I'm done too. I think I'm gonna like keep sitting in the pocket of really liking that first book that I've read of hers, and I will never think of this one ever again.
That's good. That's how we'll do it. Well, great. Let's get into pairings. Let's hopefully give our audience a little bit, some TV shows, books, movies that are maybe of this genre and maybe done a little bit more tastefully, in a better way. So let's start off with a cocktail.
Straight gin, baby.
Straight gin.
It has to be straight gin.
Cracked open right off the top of the bottle.
Yeah. Straight gin.
Or red wine with glass shards in it. That could be fun too.
That's really good. But I feel like you'll need something a lot stronger than glass shards to get through this book. So I think you need to get a whole bottle of gin and sit down, and then you could possibly read this.
Probably not, but yes. A TV show.
We were talking about this earlier. I don't watch TV shows, so I was kind of just like Googling some, and one of them that I assumed that would be semi-close, you can correct me if you've seen this one, was Killing Eve. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good
From
one.
what I understand, it's about a spy or a detective who's, I don't know, is trailing like this woman who is a sociopath, and they end up like doing crime together or something like that. I'm not, again, I haven't seen it. I'm not 100% sure, but it's kind of the lines of like where someone is starting off one way, they meet someone, and it drastically alters what they're doing with their life. And it's kind of, you know, two main female characters. One is like, it's, what's her name? She plays in Grey's Anatomy, Sandra Oh, who is by no means anywhere close to Eileen. I adore Sandra Oh, but her character is supposed to be portrayed as this like awkward like character, and she meets like this phenomenal, like charismatic, beautiful sociopath, and they just like go on little adventures together, killing people, obviously, not like little adventures. This is all from what I have understood about the TV show. I've never seen it, so if I'm wrong, don't
add her.
Don't at me. So that's my TV show. There's probably other ones that are closer and better, but
that's a good one.
I don't know about them.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good one. Mine is Dead to Me, with Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini. Dead to Me is about a woman who befriends another woman in a grief group about losing loved ones. Christina Applegate has recently lost her husband to a hit and run, and befriends this woman. Crazy things unfold. The woman is not who she says she is, and they uncover secrets. But I think this genre it's dark and twisted, but it's also, they do the funny and the comedy of it very well. It's very tasteful and very funny, but you also get these like heartfelt moments, and also get these like dramatic and like shocking moments as well. So I think they do that really well, like the comedic, satirical, yet it's super tasteful as well, and they like tell a really good story through it too. Great. Well, let's go to books.
Mine was this Discomfort of Evening. It's kind of the same lines of, it follows a family who are all equally as messed up, and it follows the second youngest daughter, or the oldest daughter, but she has a younger sister, in her processes of when her older brother dies and how the family processes it. It is very dark, very twisted. It borders on the same kind of lines of like sexual topics that might be a little weird, but nothing in the lines of this book. There were a couple of parts where I was like, but they weren't anything I was just like, it was, I think it was done in a better way. But it has the same, it's not comedic at all. Like, there, you won't laugh. So, but I think it was done, I think it did what Otessa was trying to do in this book a lot better. So I recommend that one. A Certain Hunger is really good if you actually want more comedy and less grotesque, kind of, I guess. It felt less grotesque to me.
It's more grotesque in the like killing people and eating certain parts of their bodies and that type of gross instead of topical, but
I still felt like it wasn't like sorry.
No, it wasn't.
I felt like it wasn't like descriptive-y gross, to be gross for gross sake. Like, yeah. She said what she had to get the point across, the fact that she was eating somebody, but I don't think it was like gross.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would say if you want less comedy, better writing with like how messed up a family can get when they're equally traumatized, and Discomfort of Evening. If you want more comedy, less gross, A Certain Hunger, which we've done an episode on. So we can go back and listen to it before you read it, if you want to get all the ins and outs before you read a book about cannibalism.
That's true. Yeah. Those are good. Mine, I've referenced it many a times in this podcast episode so far, but My Year of Rest and Relaxation. If you like characters who are just insufferable, and you want to read about a woman who puts herself into a drug-induced sleep, and that is literally what the book is about. My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I personally did not love it, but if you're like that, Otessa's my gal. Go read another one of her books. And then the one that also came to mind, Other People's Clothes. I feel like that takes the obsession factor. And
it's so good. What a
plot
good
twist
book.
ending.
It's such a good book. I'm so glad we talk about it as often as we do because it's really good.
It is. It does this. The characters are awful, but you get satisfaction in the end, I think. So, movie.
I said Saltburn.
I said Saltburn.
Oh. I just recently watched it a week ago. And while I had this exact same feeling as finishing Saltburn as I did this book, where you're just like, oh. Okay.
Yep.
It kind of was just like, not good. I didn't hate Saltburn. I didn't hate this book, but at the same time, like, I finished it and I was like, wow, that was a lot of, like, hullabaloo for nothing. Mm-hmm. Like, that was a lot for nothing. Like, they really did the most without doing anything good.
Yes, it's a beautiful movie, filmed-wise. Like, it looks beautiful, and they did a really good job with setting, with, sets and everything. But substance-wise, it's not good. And again, gross for gross sake. You don't
I didn't even... See, that was one of the things, because, again, I read gross books. That's kind of, like, what interests me. And I didn't find... Like, I find a lot of the scenes, like, ooh, why? But I didn't find any of the scenes, like, inherently gross. Like, it was just more of, like... They did, like, 3 things that was truly just, like, being outlandish for being outlandish sake.
Yeah.
Without answering the question, like, why they're doing this.
Yeah.
And I think that was my whole issue with Eileen and the movie Saltburn. It's turning into a critique of Saltburn. Is they never answered the question, why? And I'm just like, why are you doing this? Like, doesn't make any sense. And if that's, like, the whole point of the movie, sure. But then it's not a good movie. Anyway.
Sorry, Otessa, but I think this is your last appearance on this podcast, unless you come out with something that everyone can't stop talking about. But I'm gonna guess that's gonna be
but I got
for
bit
us.
once, because this was supposed to be a trending book. This was my week, a trending book, and you're trending, and you won't catch me slipping again.
Absolutely not.
Nope.
Hoofda. Yeah, sorry, girl. Next time. But we'll be back next month with a very, very, very different book.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this book. The next episode is going to be like an hour long. I'm fully ready to just ramble. Yeah.
All right. Well, Rebekah, as always, so fun. And we will do this again. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers. My Stanley's.
Clink. I know, Stanley's cute.